What's going on, y'all? This is Mike Brown, and I want to welcome you to this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. While I have your attention, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to the podcast. Also, leave a review. Let people know what you think. Let me know what you think. Man, I love hearing from y'all for these questions, asking me a question. If you want to send in a question, hit me up on any of the social medias, The Art of Letting Go Podcast. You can email The Art of Letting Go Podcast at gmail.com. There's also a link on The Art of Letting Go Podcast.com where you can send a question. And there's a phone number, but I can't remember it right now. Yo, what up? This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Today, I have a special guest in the building. She went to my rival university, but we still got love for her. No, I'm playing.
Wait, is Xavier still open? I thought it closed down or something. I'm sorry. Lack of funding or something, I heard. I don't know.
Yes, Xavier is still open. I didn't know Dillard was still open.
Dillard is still thriving. Still thriving, yeah.
That's funny. Can you introduce
HBCU?
Exactly.
Yeah.
New Orleans, HBCU.
Yeah.
You mind introducing yourself to the people?
Sure. My name is Brandy Hardy, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Los Angeles. Should I say something else? I don't know.
No, that's all good. That's all
Okay.
good. How you feeling today?
I am feeling probably like maybe slightly anxious, but for the most part, I feel good. I feel excited, anxious because like I'm not, I'm doing a podcast and people can hear my voice. Like I'm just used to, people who I'm working with or folks like who are in my life, and I'm not on social media. So I'm thinking like, oh man, now I'm on social media. Do I get back on social media? So I'm like just kind of overthinking it a bit. But aside from that, I would say that I feel overall good and I feel excited, just about what's to come. And I'm actually enjoying the overcast today.
Yeah, no, it's been nice.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the overcast today. Like I feel like it gives me opportunity to be inside. Sometimes when the sun is out and you feel like, oh man, I gotta go out and be doing something. But this gives me permission to relax, so yeah. It
That's what's up. Why'd you get off social media?
Why did I get off social media? Because it wasn't very useful to my life, anymore. It started with, I gotten off of Facebook. And then I also felt like I couldn't really post or say things that I really wanted to say, as I didn't think that people would receive it very well.
Yeah.
So I would think a lot about what I'm going to post. Like it may be really serious issues or, just in-depth stuff, like how I think, things that come up in my mind. And then like I would start to post it and then I'll say, people don't care about, like they don't care. People don't care. And so I'm like backspace. I'm like delete. And it felt like as I'm watching other people, it felt like really performative. And then that's the second reason. And then the other reason was that it kind of gave like a false sense of closeness, like to the people. It's like I had like 400 friends on Facebook. I don't have 400 friends.
I understand. Yeah.
In my real life, but for some reason, some of those people, it felt like, I was closer to them than what I really was, or that maybe they felt that they were closer to me than what we really were. So people would say like, oh, I saw that you were at this place, but you don't know me because you saw me going hiking. Like that doesn't mean anything, So I don't know. I got off because of that reason, and it felt really good. The first year I got off, both, Instagram. I mean, Facebook was so long ago. I haven't been on there in like super long, but Instagram, it's usually like on and off. But I haven't been on Instagram in a long time, and it felt nice, like that people my close friends, like I'm still connected to them, whether I'm on Facebook, Instagram or not.
Yeah.
You know, people would actually remember my birthday without the prompt. Of like, today is like, so I was really impressed by that. Like one year I had like 15, friends like hit me up for my, I'm like, how do you remember? Because some of them, I didn't know their birthdays. So without the social media prompt. And so it kind of forced like more genuine and intentional relationships. And, I just don't find that it's something that I need or that's very useful for me.
Yeah. I'm thinking just because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, how much of an effect do you think social media plays on our mental health?
I think it plays a large effect. I mean, it's like virtual reality, like I saw someone said, like, I want to be Facebook. Like, I love it so bad. I want to live in Facebook. I want to live in IG,
Hell no.
It's like I want to absorb myself like into these spaces because it is, it's a huge distraction. I have people who I work with, that's all they do. Like that is their social interactions, when they're gaming or when they are, on these platforms that we don't know how to interact with people in real life. And I mean, and we all kind of know this intellectually, but yet we have a hard time like detaching ourselves like from these systems because it's like an alternative to ourselves too. It's like, oh man, like I have a zit today, but if I posted a picture of myself, I can just like brush that out, using this like, using this app. And so it, I don't know, we're striving for perfection and like to alter ourselves, whereas ourselves don't exist anymore. Like our natural alchemy has been filtered out, by something else. So,
and that's scary. And it's funny you mention that because I've seen people like really do serious graphic work to themselves for social media. Mm-hmm. And it's like, for what? Like, what do you get out of, like you said, not being your real self? Mm-hmm. What's a healthy way that you think people could use social media? Like what advice would you give somebody like just to be mindful of while using it?
That is so hard. I mean, because even that word, like healthy, is kind of like overused in a way. Like, this isn't healthy. It's like, I mean, but what is though? Yeah. So but what's healthy, I would say, how much does maybe a question that we can ask ourselves is, how disruptive is this to our everyday life? Like, is this disruptive to how I think about myself? And if it's disruptive to how I think about myself, then perhaps I want to eliminate it, altogether, or reframe like how I'm using this tool, like reframe like how I'm thinking about this. And by reframing, it's like, well, if I'm on social media, like I'm coming with the understanding that a lot of this is sort of smoking mirrors, like it's airbrushed. Like I have to intellectually understand that. Yeah. So then I don't internalize, everything that I'm seeing here. So you can change your mind, you can change the way that you're thinking about it, or just, like I said, like eliminating it altogether. Or if you're using it for business purposes or to promote something or to spread awareness about something, but if your sole purpose of going on there is to, some people say, well, I go on there to connect with friends. Like, are your friends living in remote countries that they don't have access to phones? They're using beepers, or that's not an excuse anymore, because I want to see what my friends are up to. You can call them, you can text them,
hang out with them.
You can hang out, you can actually be, intentional about, what, I'm going to devote Saturday, like one Sunday or Saturday out of the month to connect with a friend or something like that. So, yeah. I
appreciate you sharing that. I wanted to talk to you about your practice in therapy and also ask you some questions of my own and some listener questions. But you are practicing, like, self-practicing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, private practice.
Private practice, yes.
Yeah, or self-practice, that works too. Yeah.
I'm country. No, I'm playing. How has that been? How's that been, like, just working on your own?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, it definitely has its challenges because you are working on your own. And so you are it can be really isolating, you know, opposed to like working in community mental health or something where someone is essentially maybe checking your work, or there's so many systems that support you and the client, or support you to make sure that, you know, things are ethical and things are legal. So working in community mental health, by the time I start working with the client, all their documents are filled out, and we have a system that we utilize for crisis that's already set up, you know. But working on my own, like, I have to develop, you know, all of that stuff and sort of determine like what my capacity is, you know. So if I'm working with someone privately, can I see someone who is suicidal or who just, you know, got out of the hospital for like suicidal ideation? What would I do if this person told me in person, like, you know what, I want to hurt myself? You know, if I was working in community mental health, you know, we would be able to write a hold, you know, for the person to get them to the hospital, but can't necessarily just do that, you know, in that way. Like it's a lot more things that, you know, that you have to think about and consider when deciding what kind of clients you want to work with, because some people may not be well enough to just see you without seeing a psychiatrist and then having a case manager or a social worker and things like that. They may need a bit more support. So it's been, you know, pushing me to be more reflective and actually use a lot of my clinical muscles that I probably wouldn't otherwise have used just working in community mental health, because these systems are already developed and designed for you. But now I'm setting it for myself. Like, yes, there's like standard of ethics and standard of like legal things, you know, and you know, stuff like that to safeguard, you know, clients and yourself. But it really requires you to use like some of those muscles a bit more. But aside from that, like, it's interesting, you know, just to see, you know, to kind of understand the minds of the general public, because I see the general public. And so These are everyday people, you know, that I'm working with. And it's like fascinating to really understand and be able to connect with individuals and know like what they're going through, like what they're thinking about, like how the changes in the world are impacting them. And these are all kinds of people from all walks of life. And for the most part, they are experiencing something very similar. And I find that to be really fascinating.
That's what's up. Yeah. That's dope. Do you see a therapist?
I do. I've seen a therapist. I've had my same therapist for years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like on and off.
How important is it for a therapist to have a therapist?
I think it's really important. Like, I wouldn't recommend seeing a therapist who have not seen a therapist. You know, I wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't, because how do you recommend a product that you don't use yourself? You know, so you have to also have buy-in with the product. You know, you can't just see it as like, well, I'm just going to sell it to these other people. I don't really need it. But it is really important to check in to make sure that you're clear to go, you know, because you can be struggling with something that will impact the people that you're working with. You know, that will be a barrier for you working with certain people, you know, so you need to get that cleared up.
I feel that. I'm thinking about going back myself. I've been out for a year now, just because I wanted to see what life is like with the tools that I built. Because I went for maybe about 7-8 years. Just like, let's see what this time has done. And I feel good. Life does have moments of feeling intense, probably like regularly, but I feel like I have those tools to get through them. But I'm also getting that feeling of wanting to go back, but just haven't been inspired in the sense of like the why. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You don't know why you would go back?
Yeah. Like I feel like I feel good right now. And not to say that you have to feel bad to go to therapy, but when I say that out loud, it does feel like I'm saying like you only have to go to therapy when you feel bad. But like right now, like what would be the point of going back to therapy if I were to go?
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, like I don't, it's not even tricky, but yes, it would be really challenging for me as a therapist to work with someone who does not have like an identified issue, you know? So if I keep going to the doctor, but all of my blood work is fine, like there is no abnormalities, then me and the doctor are just friends at that point. Right. That's not even my doctor. That's my buddy that I'm just kind of going to, get unnecessary labs and tests done on, but yeah, you should go to therapy when you don't feel well, if there's something, maybe you don't have to feel like absolutely terrible, but you can be going through a transition in your life, and you just may need to to reflect on some things, or maybe to process some things that perhaps your friends can't help you with, or your family or your partner can't help you with. So you don't have to absolutely feel terrible, but I think that it is important for there to be maybe some sort of conflict that you're contending with, because it does give the therapist something to work with. If you're just there and you're like, no, I feel good, how are you doing? It's like, I'm fine, but so we want to give the therapist also something to work with, and you want to, you're paying for this, and so you want to make sure that it's purposeful, in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to have a therapist? Because I hear a lot of people say that they want a therapist that can relate to their issues or like understand them. How important is it for your therapist to, I guess, almost like identify with you in some kind of way? Does that make sense? Like if you black, to have a black therapist, or if you queer, to have a queer therapist. Yeah.
It can be an issue of like over-identifying, so I know that there are some people who may say, I want a black woman, or I want a black man, or I want, someone who's Spanish speaking and, identify as this. It can be too specific and I think sometimes, and it's not all the time, sometimes I want someone to affirm me and to tell me that what I'm thinking is that I'm fine, that it's okay, maybe I don't want to be challenged in that way. That's sometimes, that I want someone that's going to mirror me in that way. Or you want someone that can, because we may feel that if I'm seeing another woman and I'm a woman, then there's going to be a certain level of empathy because she's a woman and she may have experienced something similar. So then, I can understand that. But being mindful about when we over-identify and then we don't get any work done because the therapist is like, I completely understand, and it's not challenging you to think about things in a different way and consider some of the patterns that may keep you stuck. I don't identify with all of my clients, like some of the things that they come into the office with, or on the Zoom. it's things that I've never personally experienced, but I can maybe identify with some of the distress, of it. So it may not be like that exact experience that I have experience with, but the feeling of confusion, the feeling of anger and disappointment, being able to identify with that, so culturally I see all types of people, and we don't always, identify, but we align in that we are human and we're having this experience that we are attempting to understand and move through, but some people need that. I don't think that it is always necessary. Like I've worked with a lot of folks in substance abuse, like in addiction, but I've never struggled with substance abuse, but it does not mean that my practices are not effective.
Right. That makes sense.
It's James Woods, aka Dat Yoga Dude, with Feel Free to Feel Free. Taking a deep breath to breathe in the current moment. Letting go of stress, letting go of worry, letting go of doubt, and bringing in the current moment. Each and every breath brings in more and more of what's happening right now. As I let go of what could or what didn't, I relax my feet as I stand firm in the right now. I soften my back and my shoulders as I let go of the weight of worrying about tomorrow. And release any tension in my head, in my neck, in my chest as I ease into the right now. As you take 3 deep breaths, inhale and exhale. Deep inhale, softening the face. And a long, slow exhale, emptying the body. Inhaling once again. And a long, slow, relaxing, releasing, present exhale. Believe right now in this current moment that everything's all right. And as always, feel free to feel free. And namaste. Peace.
I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to someone as far as like how to pick a therapist?
That's a good question. So the target demographic, that I'm interested in working with are those individuals who may not know how to do that. Like they are new to therapy, or perhaps they haven't really had like good experiences in the past, but always doing a consultation with a therapist first, like in talking about what your presenting issue is, asking the therapist what kind of experience do they have with treating that, asking questions like, how do you see change? Like, how do you think that people change, and just filling it out the same way that you would fill out if you're deciding if you like someone or not. Like, do I want to work for this person, or do I want to collaborate on this sort of thing? Like, it's vibes too.
Right.
If someone feels like kind of too clinical and too technical, then that may not be the person for you. If some people like a therapist who's like a bit more relaxed and maybe humorous, or who takes the lead more, and the therapy is very structured, but figuring out what it is how you want to feel in the session and sort of going from there, because some people come in and they may not know how to start. I don't know what to say, like starting off with my therapist. So then you want someone who's like more direct and who can guide those sessions, and it's not you doing a lot of it. They're working at your pace, so but yeah, I've had a few clients, you know, who would say, I don't know, like what to ask you, you know,
Yeah.
like what questions and things like that. So, someone who's open, you know, to telling you, like, this has been my experience, like working with depression or working with someone going through a breakup, you know. And even maybe the therapist may self-disclose a little bit, you know, about themselves in order to bond and build that trust and that alliance with the individual. So I would say, like, looking out for some of those things.
So now I wanted to get to our segment, our listener segment called Ask Me a Question. So I feel like two of the questions kind of might relate to each other, might not. I'm not too sure. So we'll go with the first one first, which is... It is from Seth on Instagram, and he asked, is it possible to move on with your life as far as trauma? Like, is it possible or not to be able to get over it and move on? I'll let you start.
Yes, of course. I think that, you know, that anything is possible. Like, anything can be restored, anything can be, you know, rejuvenated or undone. But it takes awareness, you know, first, and insight, you know, about what's happening, and being able to name what's going on with you. You have to identify the issue first, like to have a framework. But the thing about trauma is that it's like so insidious, and it kind of wraps into all of these different parts of a person's life, and they may not know where to start, because it doesn't just like impact one thing. Usually it impacts a lot of different things. But it is possible to be able to live, you know, a life where you feel fulfilled, and, you know, after trauma, even though it may not seem like that, because trauma takes so much from you, and it constantly robs you of things, you know, where you sometimes you can't see up, you know. But the first step is acknowledging that something is going on, you know, with me, and I want some type of relief, you know, and being committed, you know, to whatever practices and habits and rituals and changes that you have to implement in order to get that relief. But yeah, it is definitely possible. I work with a lot of individuals who are dealing with trauma, or who have dealt with some type of complex trauma, and you know, we're working through it, and they're resilient. But yeah, it's possible.
I agree with you, and I think something I would add to that for the listeners is knowing that healing is not linear. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times when we do work, we get up to a point where it's like you might feel healed, or you might feel over it, and then something else may come up and make you feel it. And just understanding, like, you know, as long as you're on a journey, you're going to be continuously working through stuff till you get to a point where it's like it's not there. But I think that consistency of work will get you to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes, like, taking a rest, you know, and finding a respite, you know, from some of the work too, you know. It's like we are in this age of perfection, and like I'm starting not to even like the word healthy, because I think it's misused, and I don't know if we even understand what that means. And so to be healthy does not mean to be without conflict, without discomfort, without distress. And so we in turn find ourselves reaching, like an addiction, to feel good, to have no conflicts. And love is butterflies and rainbows, and it's not something that you work at, or that that everything is a trauma. Whenever I feel, you know, confronted with something, then that's a trauma, or I'm activated, or I'm triggered, but pain and suffering is also a part of this life experience, but it's how you wear it, how you manage it, how you internalize what is happening to you. Because then if you're always reaching for like the good feeling things, and then when it gets like really rocky and shaky, it's like, I have to escape, abort. You don't learn conflict resolution. Like you don't learn that your mind, your body is not turning against you. Like this is utility. It's telling you something. It's a message. It's an indicator. The way that your check engine light comes on your car or your oil change, it doesn't mean like danger. It means that it's something that needs to be looked into. So it's the way that we wear our trauma, or the way that it shows up, that may make it feel like, oh my God, like I cannot deal with this, and just understanding it too, because it's distressing. It doesn't mean that I have to run away from it, or this isn't safe for me, so knowing what to be curious about, leaning into it rather than running away.
That's what's up. Our next question is from Deshaun Woods, and I feel like this is somebody who may personally know you, because they ask, what is your current perspective of love?
I don't think I know that person.
Deshaun Woods?
No, I don't think I know. I don't know that man. No. What's my current perspective of love? I don't know. That's a broad question. My perspective of love doesn't really change. It's unchanging. I always believe in love, I don't even know if I know how to answer that question, like what my perspective of love is. I do feel like it's something that many of us are lacking. We have like some remnants or something of love, but not like true love. I don't think that many of us have like experienced like what true love is, but when we are wrapped in love, I definitely think like it's probably, like you're at your highest seat when you're able to experience love in its true form. You're able to really, understand like God's love, and what that feels like. So that's like my perspective of love. It's unchanging, I love love, and I try to walk in love, through all parts of my life. It's when I feel most honest. It's when I feel the freest, when you're acting in love, even if it feels confusing or, scary, I would say. Maybe not confusing, but even if it feels scary sometimes, because love requires you to give up parts of yourself, especially the ego, to sit in all of its true glory. It requires you to be pure and open and honest. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's my answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got two more questions for you.
Two more questions.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
What advice would I give? What comes up first, I think, is like what's most important. It's like I don't know if I would change anything, like giving advice to at least like of what I can think of. Right now. I mean, believe it or not, like I've always been like really like introspective, like even as a kid, which caused me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
So, and just like really thoughtful and intentional about like what I want to do. But maybe like, I guess as I'm talking about it, I would probably tell my younger self, don't think too hard about it. Just don't think too hard about it. Like whatever that is, whatever that thing is, don't think too hard about it. Be okay with making mistakes and sort of learning through things. Like you may not get it right all the way right the first time, but that is a part of life. Like life is an experience, it's an experiment, and to take it as such. Yeah.
That's what's up. And what advice would you give what reminder would you give to your older self?
Like my future older
self?
self?
Like your future self, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually something that I'm thinking about like right now. Like what advice? Like I think about, especially like around my birthday is in October. So I start to think about like, man, like how do I want to be? Like, how do I want to feel, at this point in my life? But advice that I would give to my older self, that like enjoy I don't know if that's the advice I give to my older self. I was going to say maybe enjoy your youthfulness. If like my older self can like say something to my younger self, or am I answering that question right?
So when you were older, what reminder do you want from like today? Like let's say you were older and you just thought back on something, like what would you want yourself to think back on?
Like if I was like in my 60s or something?
Maybe.
I'm trying to think like what specifically? Okay. I'm like, okay, that today is the youngest I'll ever be. And, enjoy it, revel in it, do everything that you want to do. Even if you're not quite sure, but just do everything that you want to do, like right now, today, nothing that's going to hurt somebody or something really crazy or anything like that. But yeah, be present. Be present in today, like what today is and how you feel today, because then when tomorrow is here, you're like, dang, I should have did that yesterday, but whatever it is that you want to do today in this moment, go for it. Yeah. I hope I answered that for myself. Yeah.
And you'll have it to always go back and listen to whenever you need it.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the 60s? I'm like, where's that podcast that I did in 2022? Where that thing is? And I don't know, it may not even be a phone. It's going to be something else, some sort of
hologram
projecting of this moment, like right here, because they were filming us. The AI. This is all being recorded somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, those were good questions. It's always good to I think to reflect back. Like sometimes we live too much in the future, and it gives us anxiety, and sometimes we live too much in the past, which causes sadness and depression. So living in the present, that helps us with being content, feeling content and present and right now, because we can't do anything about either of those things.
Right.
So yeah, just in the moment, we have now, so do it. Yeah.
That's what's up. Where can the people find you? I know you're not on social media, but are there other places that people can find you?
Other places, well, I am on Psychology Today.
Okay.
I'm on Psychology Today, and I think I'm going to reactivate my Instagram today and just leave it up for a week. I'm going to reactivate it today, like just in case, you know, if there's folks, you know, out here who listens to the podcast and they have, you know, some questions, and they want to send a message or something like that. At least I can put the Psychology Today link in the bio on Instagram. Because, and then after that week, I'll just delete it again, you know.
And if y'all want to get in touch, y'all can always reach out to the podcast. And
reaching out to the podcast, but you can Google just Brandy Hardy, LMFT, and the Psychology Today link should come up. But that's how they can find me, or send me a smoke signal. I think I'm gonna get a pager and just you can beat me. You can send you my pager number. You know, I've been thinking about that actually.
Like for real, getting a pager?
Yeah, like a pager or like a flip phone. It's like with too much of, I think Kanye West. I love Kanye West still. Yeah. What song was that? He said something about with so much of everything. This was on the My Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Okay.
With so much of anything, with so much of everything, how do we leave with nothing?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is right now. Like with so much of everything, like, you know, so many people also like feel super empty right now. You know, I have all of these ways of connecting with people, iPads, and I have an Apple Watch, and I got a phone, you know, but yet I'm like, I want a pager. You know, I would throw all of this away, you know, give me a pager. I want a beeper, you know, because there's like a bit of detachment from that. It's like you page me and then I got to get to a phone, you know, to get to you, you know. So, but yeah, I have thought about that, but then it's counterproductive because I would still need the iPhone to have to make the phone call.
Yeah.
Decisions.
Get you a two-way.
Wow. Yeah. And put it on the hip. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's like we're wanting to connect and we're wanting to detach, like all at the same time.
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, and just learning how to turn the phone off or, you know, put it on Do Not Disturb. I see a lot of people are using that function now.
I do it a lot, especially at work.
Yeah.
Just turn it on.
Yeah. So.
Thank you so much, Brandy, for coming on the show.
Thank you. I finally made it.
I know. We've been planning it, but, you know, everything happens when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for tuning in. This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Peace. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. If you like what you heard, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Also, leave a review. If you want to further support the show, we are on Patreon, where you can hear the extended version of this episode. We got like extra 20 to 30 minutes of this podcast. You know, me and Brandy love to talk. Also, you can go to the artoflettinggopodcast.com, purchase merch, leave us a voicemail. Also, there's a phone number because, you know, I love an audio message. That phone number is 213-394-2773. Hit me up. Thank y'all for listening. Peace.